Hey Tyler, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming in.
You're very welcome.
Well, I'm really excited that we're able to do this. I've been wanting to learn a little bit more about drilling in the upstream sector. I don't have any experience at all, like from being in the field. And so I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to coming. It's been on the calendar for a while, so
Yeah.
really glad we could get out here and do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so you've been a rig manager in the past. That's like really like the area where you've been at the most in the field.
Yeah, so I started in deep water in the Gulf of Mexico. As soon as I got out the Marine Corps, started at the very bottom as a roustabout and worked my way up um out there. And when it slowed down deep water, I transferred to land and was drilling out here in West Texas, and probably for about the past 6 years I've been a rig manager out here in the Permian.
Oh, wow. That's interesting, and with offshore, like, that's a totally different animal too.
Yeah, it's a lot more going on out there, but it's still the same general idea of what we want to do.
Okay. Was it like, since you've had the experience of offshore and onshore, is it more challenging to work offshore?
It's just different challenges.
Okay.
As far as numbers, you've got to be a little more precise with a lot of things out there. Um, the safety culture out there is way different than on land, and everything's getting more geared toward that way. But it's still very there's no hurry out there at all.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's like I could see where they're like you're saying, like, it's just different
Yeah, it's
challenges.
just different challenges.
Yeah. So whenever you transferred and you came on land, was there any nostalgia to go back offshore, or are you happy where you are now?
At first, there was, and I was like, I'm just going to go to land for a little while, and then I'm going to go back offshore. But I haven't really wanted to go back. I've had a few opportunities to go back, and it just didn't feel like the right thing to do.
Okay. Well, you said you've worked your way up out there. Was that a long process, or did you kind of fall into it like pretty quickly?
No, it was a long process, but it was quick too as well. I moved up pretty quick. Over about it's been about 5 years offshore, and I made it to a derrick hand out there, and I was working overseas in South America on a project down there. And then they started replacing us with locals there, which, it's normal. It happens.
Yeah.
And when they moved me back to the Gulf, I decided, I don't want to do this. And I had some guys I'd worked with that were working out here. So they moved me out here, and that's what I started doing.
Okay.
So I moved up over about 5 years to that position, which is pretty quick for offshore.
And when you came onshore, how long of the process was that before you became a rig manager?
That was pretty quick.
So like kind of like you excelled in both areas.
Yes, I had to start as a floor hand out here, and I did that for a hitch and got a drilling job. So that was pretty quick. But I had prior experience, and we were booming, so they just needed people.
Oh, yeah. That you can get a lot of opportunities during a boom
Hmm.
that wouldn't always be there because they just need people, and if you're at hand and you can get after it, like,
Exactly.
you might get that opportunity.
It's right place, right time. Some guys, and I've been in the wrong place, wrong time before too.
Yeah.
But I've been very blessed in my career and what I've done so far. But yeah, I drilled for a little over a year, and then started pushing tools.
Okay. And, what was that like? Because you said you were in the Marines,
Yes, ma'am.
and so was that leadership kinda did that play a part?
That that had a huge part of it was my leadership style. The just having to figure it out, not feeling sorry for yourself. It could always be worse.
Mhm.
In my head. So just trying to find the positive in everything that I'm doing with whatever happens. Hey, we're going to get it done, and being able to lead from the front with my
Okay.
guys I had working for me. I still talk to a lot of them all the time. They're still sending me KPIs, which is how we kind of measure performance. And they're still sending me that kind of stuff all the time. And it makes me really proud of them. I still let them know they can't mess with my old ones, but I'm extremely proud of all those guys out here doing really good, and especially to see the ones that started as green guys
Mm.
that didn't know a thing, and they're drilling now and rig managers now.
That's awesome. And that would be something to be proud of because, not everyone, gets that kind of training to excel. And so like
Mhm,
knowing that you had a hand in that and that they remembered what they learned from you and that they are actually applying it.
mhm, yeah, like, my leadership style, I was pretty, kinda in your face, hardcore. From the outside looking in, they're like, "Man, I do not wanna work for this guy." But all the guys that did work for me, they understood what was going on. They they knew more than guys that worked somewhere else, because I always made a big hand in teaching and explaining to them,
Mhm.
and I expected a lot from them. And then they were taken care of better than I felt like we had a good group and they got really taken care of.
Right. So it's like you were kind of hard on them, but that was setting them up for success.
Yes. I've had a lot of guys, leave and go work for somewhere else, and, they'll call me or text me, "Hey, man, thanks, for being like that to me." Say, "'Cause this is easy now."
Yeah.
I said, "I told you."
Yeah, because if it's the opposite, then if they go work for someone hard after that, then they might get overwhelmed or not know how to handle themselves.
Yeah. I'd used to get sent to problem rigs sometimes,
Okay.
and I'd always, say, "You've gotta show up strong and hard. You can always back off, but don't show up and be easy and then try to get harder." It's
Okay.
always a lot easier to back off than it is to toughen up on
I
people.
could see that. Yeah, I wouldn't have ever thought of that, but that makes sense because it's like you want to present that like strong
Yeah.
stoic front and then they can get to know you or you can lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, here, this is what we're gonna do. This is what y'all been doing. I don't care what y'all been doing. This is what we're gonna do now.
Well, especially if it's a problem site.
This is why I'm here. And I went to rigs that were in last place, and then we turn them into performers, and they're in first place, and they're coming shoot videos on the rig to
Oh, that's cool.
demonstrate performance and stuff like that over like 6 month periods.
So what kind of problems would you run into?
A lot of performance based
Like
problems.
them not knowing what to do or how to do it or just not working hard enough?
It wasn't a working hard enough thing. It was a leadership thing.
Okay.
The guys, there's always a few problem there, but they normally weed themselves out. It's just not people not wanting to be involved and teach them and care
Oh, yeah.
and think outside the box. They think, oh, we've always done it like this. Well, it doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. Let's try something.
Mhm.
And I always would let my guys try to. And sometimes would know that what they wanted to do wasn't really going to work, but I knew we had time for them to try. It just helps build their confidence and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true because then they can learn and they can see for themselves why it wouldn't work. And so
Hmm.
then when you do it a different way or you're showing
Yes,
them the right way to do it, they can uh, see that for themselves. Yeah, I like
100%.
that. So tell me, because like I said, I don't have any experience on a drilling rig. Like what is a typical, like you're saying performance, like what is it they would be what would you be doing on a drilling rig?
So you show up to location, you'll move the rig in. Your time to move in the rig. So that's another performance indicator. KPI is how they judge everything. It's a key performance indicator.
Because it's the same every time. Like
Pretty much
when
same.
you guys mobilize in and set up and like being efficient and
Planning for the next step. That's it. It's all about planning. Having your paperwork, making sure guys know what's going on, working safe, being efficient, having the right tools for the job. So you'll show up, you'll move in, you'll drill your section, you'll come out the hole, run casing, cement that up, drill your next section, and vice versa. It's going to start bigger and get smaller as far as whatever the engineers have designed for the well.
okay. And that just is an ongoing process because I mean I've heard different like terminology and things like tripping pipe and
Yeah, so you'll trip in to the bottom of the hole and you'll drill, you
okay.
circulate all your cuttings and everything out, make sure the hole's clean. Then you'll trip the pipe out and then you'll run casing into the hole and the casing stays there. If you're pulling casing out the hole, that's a bad thing. You normally don't want to do that.
Oh, okay. So that the casing is like kind of like protecting
It's
the area and like keeping the oil coming like
it protects your hole.
okay.
So you drill your hole and that's dirt and rock. and
Mhm.
you're open to Mother Nature. And that's the whole thing of drilling is keeping Mother Nature at bay.
Okay.
So once you run that casing in there, you've got that metal wall,
Okay.
and then you'll cement that casing in place.
And that's gonna stay there the whole time.
That'll stay there forever.
Okay. Alright, and so then, what's the process once all of that's set up?
So once you do that, you'll get your well drilled and everything. You'll run that last string of casing, your production casing, depending on where you want to put it at, what the operator wants you to do.
Okay.
You'll cement that up, and then you'll move on. Either walk to the next well on the pad or rig down and move to another one. So that's normally the way we've always drilled is over balanced wells. So you've got your formation pressure in the earth. That's what's pushing back on you, and you want your mud weight. You'll have a certain weight there to overbalance the well.
Okay.
So whatever your mud weight is, it's the pressure, the hydrostatic pressure that will overcome the earth.
Okay, and so that now what we've been talking about is managed pressure drilling.
Yes,
That's
that's
what
what
you
I.
do now.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, is that I can't remember how you had said it to me before, but I know that's what you do now at Premium. And is that what like you've just started doing this at Premium or you've done this in the past?
So I had done it in the past. Drill. It's a relatively new technology in the past 10 years or so, but it is getting now to where I'd say within the next 5 10 years you won't be able to drill a well
Okay, I remember
without
you
it.
saying that too
Yes, ma'am.
because it's more efficient and you're able to produce more.
Yeah, so it's more efficient as far as you don't have to weight up an entire mud system. You can just increase your back pressure that you're holding, and that's going to simulate a higher mud weight. And so it's quicker like that. You're able to drill with a lighter mud. You can drill faster. You're not spending all the money on chemicals for the mud.
Mhm.
So your operator's saving money right there. And one thing here, especially here in the Permian, is I can remember 5 and 6 years ago drilling in and having to shut in on these wells because everything's starting to get so charged up out here with all the fracking and the water flows and everything.
Okay.
And it being 100, 200 pounds shut in, and that was a lot. And that's but now it's nothing to shut in on 500 600 pounds. And the problem is the the mud weight you need to keep that back is too heavy when you start pumping because it increases your pressure downhole and you start losing fluid away. So the fracture pressure and the formation pressure is too close to one another now.
Okay.
And that's where we come in.
And so that's kind of what's separating you as far as uh, doing the managed pressure and then not having it at all.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now, like the conversation that I had with you before with Neil, your engineer
Yeah,
at
he's our
Premium,
vice president.
vice president, the technology that Premium has developed, that Neil has been a part of that.
Yes. So they reached out to Neil a couple years ago. He was working for a competitor and they wanted to develop our own technology. And where we really separate ourselves is any company can go and get the stuff you need. They can get an RCD, they can get a bowl, they can get a choke, they can get hoses and all that. They can get the technology, the system to run it, but they're having to get that from somewhere. So they don't have access to the codes or anything like that. If they want it to be better, someone else has to design it. We design everything we do in house. All our coding is done in house by our engineers. So we have access. If we're needing to troubleshoot something, we have access to get in there and do it. If we need to get equipment or change it, we can do it. So a client can come to us, hey, we want to do this and do that, and we can start working on it.
Okay. Yeah, that was really fascinating to learn that because it also decreases downtime because you guys are able to
Huge.
fix any issues, any repairs that may happen because it's all in house.
It's all in house. All our equipment is in house. All our expendables, we do it all. a lot of the equipment when it's sent in between jobs, the guys that are out there working on the equipment are going and rebuild the equipment too. So when you get in the field, you know it's right because you're the one that did it when it was in.
Mhm.
If something breaks in the field, it's a quick fix because you know how to work on it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so tell me a little bit more about the technology that you guys are using that's been so efficient, such a game changer.
So our system is very easy to run. We didn't try to over engineer it and everything and make it so complicated to run. So if you have a background like I did of drilling and downhole, you can pretty much go right into it, spend a day with somebody, and you're ready to go.
Okay. So that's huge. That's a
Yeah,
game
it's a
changer.
huge game changer.
Yeah.
And the people, um, we're starting to get very busy. We're looking to we're on over 190 rigs right now, and we're looking to be over 280 at the end of the year.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah, that's awesome.
between out here in the Permian, that's our biggest is out here in the Permian, but we're
Mhm.
all over the country, and we're looking to get into some stuff overseas. We just broke into the Canadian market up there, so everybody is getting really trained. We're bringing in some really good people that really care and want to see everything do better.
Yeah, because and another thing that Neil had mentioned is like, wanting to be more conscious of the environment
Yes.
and in being like obviously with efficiency and safety and innovative with the technology that we are leaving less of a carbon footprint.
Yeah, so with MPD, you can run a lighter mud weight in the hole. And so when you have your pumps on, you can hold a certain amount of pressure to keep everything where you're not pumping chemicals and fluid, pumping it away, pumping money away, pumping stuff.
Hmm.
So when they go to produce the well later on, they don't have to deal with any of that. But then when we turn the pumps off, we're able to manipulate our choke and trap pressure on there to where the well still thinks that it's the same fluid in the hole as when the pumps were on. So your well, normally drilling, your well, when it relaxes, when your pumps are off, it comes in, pumps on, it swells. It's constantly doing this. With MPD, your hole can stay the same all the time. It's a lot better for the hole.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that because it's more regulated.
Yes.
Okay.
And we can control it. We've got gauges on our Coriolis meters so we can see what's coming back as far as fluid. If it's starting to get gas cut, we can detect kicks way sooner than the old way. We could say within minutes, hey, something's going on. We need to increase the pressure a little bit where, you're not having to stop and wait up the system or wait until it gets a little worse. You can control it right then.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. And this is gonna, you can do this from a control room or a doghouse, or you could
Yeah,
be a
so
little bit
we'll rig
further.
up the control panel in the doghouse,
Hmm.
communicate with the drillers as we've got it going on. We've got a lot of jobs where they're unmanned, where we go out and teach the drillers and the company men how to run the equipment, and we just go out there for problems. But they'll basically run the chokes.
Okay. Yeah, and that's awesome. And that's a really
Yes,
exciting place to be. It's kind of a pivotal moment in the industry, what's been happening with
yes, it's
this.
very exciting.
Yeah. Well, you've also mentioned that you're kind of back and forth between here and Canada.
Here recently, I've been between East Texas, North Louisiana, out here in the Permian, and we just broke into the Canadian market up there. And we hired a brand new team up there. So I've been going up there to try to help train all our new people up there and get everything going. And that's been very exciting and just something different,
Hmm.
totally different drilling I'm getting to see, um, different math I'm getting and having to learn because of they don't use pounds per gallon, they don't use feet, they don't use
Oh,
psi.
interesting.
Yes, so
Yeah. So that's a like totally new challenge for you.
yes, so I'm having to kind of go in and teach myself that, and then teach these other guys,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. Wow. That's really like just kind of staying one or 2 feet ahead of, like,
Mhm.
the team, but that's really because you've had all of this experience, you know what you're doing, and so you're challenging yourself, and they're being challenged as well right behind you with it,
They
but
are.
in a different way.
They are. Premium's been really good to me since I've come over here.
That's
And I always
awesome.
dealt with Premium, but when I was a rig manager,
Mhm.
because we do pump parts, top drives, shaker screens, iron roughnecks, do a little bit of everything, not just MPD. So I always dealt with Premium before.
Yeah, but now you're actually, like, hands-on, like, well, obviously, you're working for 'em, and it's also hands-on.
Yes, very, very much so.
You know, speaking of, learning different types of math, I remember one thing that you said on the call that we had about, teaching high school kids, how to apply algebra in
Yes.
real life situations. That was so interesting. You said, is it your aunt that's an algebra teacher?
Yeah. So my aunt is an algebra teacher, and she's always dealing with these kids talking about, we're never going to use this, we're never going to do this. Um, so I like to get with her, once a year or so, give her a lot of my stuff to go over with the kids and everything like that, and show them, hey, you need to know how math works. You need to know how numbers work because you think, oh, I'm going to go in the oil field and just work and do all this. And if you want to move up in the oil field or really in anything, is you got to know how to do math
And to be able to actually apply it and
in the
understand
real world.
some of those formulas, because I mean, I can remember being in high school and saying that. I mean, I'm not working, yeah, in the drilling sector to actually apply it, but I think it's interesting to learn, a way that you can actually
Use it in real life.
use it in real life.
So, do you remember when you were in school, Pythagorean theorem?
I do.
You remember that a squared b squared equals c squared.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you go to move a rig, you've got to square it. It's got to be square to where you're gonna set the pits and everything. And everybody always says, okay, you measure 30 foot this way, 40 foot this way, it's gonna be 50 foot and it's square. But that's Pythagorean theorem. So if you understand math and you know that, you can go make your mark to where you really need to set something and where you really need to set something out here, and you can mark that and square those and get your c squared.
How interesting.
Yeah.
So that's applicable
Mhm.
in a
And
real life situation.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot, obviously, that there's a lot of value in knowing math and knowing how to uh, use all of this school training that
Mhm.
kids have in a real world setting, but in the drilling sector. What kind of positions would they be in to need to know that kind of math? Where
As a
do you
driller,
just like
as a
as an
driller,
actual driller?
as a driller, what I used to do when I was drilling with my guys, that I would teach even the roughnecks. If you want to know how to do this, I'll teach you,
And they can move up.
and they can move up. So one of the responsibilities of a driller is to update your kill sheet, and there's some math on there, and it lets you know your whole volumes and everything like that. Well, I had derrick hands working for me. That wasn't my job no more. I'm going to teach you. You're going to come update this, and I'm going to check it. But then they're
Okay.
learning that skill, and I used to have guys. I remember Timo. He used to be my derrick hand, and I taught him how to do all the math. And he would go to send something down hole. He'd pump it. He'd be, I'm pumping 30 barrel sweep. It'll be back in 652 strokes because he had done figured it all up.
Yeah.
So, that made me really proud of these
It
guys are
had
doing it.
to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. So because a lot of people think, just not knowing that much about the industry, like, someone that works on a drilling rig, you're a roughneck, you're out there, swinging wrenches, and you're on the rig floor, and it's just more manual labor.
Yeah, it used to be when I first started, oh, you work from the neck down, from the neck down.
Okay.
That's what was always, but I got to working for some guys. Um, my tool pusher, the one that pulled me, from offshore to land, he'd come to land. And he pulled me over there, and he had always instilled it, just taught me a lot. The stuff that I had no business knowing how to do it or anything like that. I would never, but I knew what was going on. So I always remembered that. So any of my guys I always tried to instill that in them. Like a hand is a lot more valuable to you the more they know.
Truly, I mean, because I've been on locations where I didn't know what was going on.
Mhm.
I didn't understand what we were doing, and it's not like I needed to, like you're saying, but if you the more you know, the more valuable you can be and the more opportunity someone may, show interest in later and can move up, and because it is important to train the upcoming generations and to, just kinda put it out there, like, this is what you can aspire towards.
Yeah, I was always, I always tell guys, I never felt like I don't need to teach you something because I'm worried about my job. Like, come get my job because
Yeah.
I want that next one anyway.
Yeah.
So I need to have you ready.
Yeah. No, that's a good point because I do know that like there are some that get job scared and don't want to share their knowledge.
It's a lot like that.
That's in so many different parts of the industry. Yeah. But when you're secure in yourself and like you said, like there's plenty that you can do and that you have to offer and that you're wanting to move up, you're not worried about sharing what you know.
Exactly.
So talk to me a little bit about like if someone is brand new to the industry, they start on the bottom. What's the first position that you get as a in the drilling?
As a floor hand, a roughneck,
Okay, and what comes after that?
a motor hand.
And what do they do?
So the motor hand is responsible for a lot of the maintenance on the rig, changing oil, checking pressure, greasing equipment, running the forklift, unloading trucks, doing all that, keeping the rig floor supplied with what they need, and also mentoring and training the new roughnecks.
Okay, and then after that, is it a derrick
The
hand?
derrick hand is next.
Okay, what do they do?
So he controls the mud system. The mud pumps down there, that's all his. As far as weighing the mud and everything like that, making sure he mixes the chemicals correctly. And that's a huge thing with what I do now. It's like the mud weight needs to be right because I use your mud weight to determine what pressure I need to hold. So if your mud weight's wrong and you're telling me it's something else, I'm going to know you're lying because the well's going to start telling me
Okay.
that. So anytime I've ever went on location with guys, I always get with the derrick hands and say, look, man, whatever you got going on, me and you need to be in a relationship to where whatever it is, I need to know
Mm-hmm.
what it is, man. If
Yeah.
you're having problems, let me know. That's fine too. I might can even help you.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so that communication is
Yeah,
really important.
100%. Just be honest and transparent
Yeah. So what kind of issues can happen on a drilling rig that
as
like
far
as
as
far as like that would systems running smoothly and you get a snag? Is it like the mud weight's the biggest problem?
that's not the biggest problem, but the mud weight is huge because that's your first line of defense in well control. That's what's keeping the well back. When you see wells blow out
Okay,
and burn down, that's it's because they're underbalanced. The mud weight's too light,
that makes sense.
or they've lost returns, and they lose fluid in the hole. They don't fill it back up.
And so that's creating pressure and buildup
It
and
allows the pressure from the earth to get in there. So
yeah.
if it's
And then there's
gas,
nothing you can do.
you could shut it in.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's like the well intervention.
Yeah, your BOP. You close your BOP in.
Okay.
You got to circulate gas out and weight up your mud and everything, and do everything like that.
But I bet that has to happen in a hurry.
Once you're shut in, you've got time,
Okay.
but identifying it needs to happen is in a hurry. And
Okay.
those guys they're drilling multiple times a week on how to identify that. And also with MPD, you can see indicators quicker of what's going on.
Well, that's also like it's managed. Like
You manage pressure drilling.
you have a much more intelligent way of understanding what's going on instead of guessing or thinking that you
I
know.
think you can see it. You can see those chokes kind of get pushed on a little bit, saying, "Hey, something's pushing against us. Let's up the pressure a little bit and see what that does." And you can keep it at bay without ever having to stop. As long as you keep it under control, you don't lose control.
Okay.
Now, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I understand that. And so you guys are this is 24/7.
It
That's
doesn't stop.
it doesn't stop. And so that is that why the because I've always worked like more like pipeline facility, like you show up at 7 a.m., like you work till 5 or 7 depending on kind of the schedule of the job, but there's never really been that overnight or working in hitches. You're on like what's the usual schedule? Is it 2 weeks on and 2 weeks
Yeah,
off?
the normal schedule on the rigs is 14-14. Um, I work something a little different, being on the service side now with premium.
Hmm.
But in normal on the rigs, 14-14, 2 crews, 12-hour shifts.
And that does that just like keep it like managed pretty good as far as like the rig schedule and for the people?
Oh, yeah.
Seems like it'd be like a nice clean uh schedule to follow.
Yeah, it's very easy. It runs really smooth. Some guys work more, they look for other stuff to do, on their days off or go fill in on other rigs and stuff like
Okay.
that.
So that's an option too,
Oh,
or it
yeah.
can be. So what's the workforce like? I mean, is it there's high demand for roughnecks coming in or
Yes. Everybody is shorthanded right now.
and so like someone that's starting out on the bottom like that, like do a lot of them have other oil field experience or a lot of these guys like super green, never been on a location before?
A lot of them are very new. Um, I've got guys that they were working at Walmart the week before.
Okay. Wow. Do you know like the rate of retention? Like do a lot of them make it in Excel or do a lot of them
Um,
fall off?
when I was still rig managing, I think we were keeping like 15%, um, maybe 20. Don't quote me on that, but it wasn't very high.
Okay.
It was a big turnover. Um,
Is it just a lifestyle? They can't handle
it's
it
hard.
or yeah.
It's hard. I mean, I think roughnecking is the most rewarding and hardest job you can have.
It seems difficult. I mean, just looking like outside in, I mean, it's hard work, it's long hours, and the actual work is really demanding.
Yes, I mean those slips weigh 200 pounds, roughly, and picking them up, you know, 300 times a day. If you're tripping pipe, you're constantly pulling them out the hole, putting them back in, pushing pipe back, swinging hammers. Um, I had a guy come to me one time and he was telling me that he couldn't work over. He said, "Man, I've got a problem." I said, "Well, what's going on?" He said, "I can't tell you." I said, "No, I need to know now." And it was his first hitch, and he'd worked at a pet store before. And he said, "Man, I can't feel my feet and I can't feel my hands." And I said, "Well, that's normal." He said, "What? That's normal?" I said, "Yeah, man, that's normal." Like, I said, "You're not hurting or anything, are you?" I said, "We can send you somewhere to get looked at if you want to." But I said, "Being sore like that, that's normal."
Yeah.
And
But
so he was very relieved that nothing was wrong
well,
with
that's
him.
good. Yeah. Wow. I bet that was scary for him though. I
Mhm.
mean,
I
to go,
still talk to him.
yeah.
Hmm.
Now is he excelling in the industry? Is
Yeah, I think the last time I talked to him, he was working derricks or working motors.
Oh
He's doing real
wow.
good.
Now, how long does it typically take someone to move up like that? Or does it depend on the
It
individual?
depends on the individual, it depends on the needs, depends on the industry. Um, when we're booming, they move up too fast.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think you should work the positions for at least a year apiece, and I still think that's too fast to move up. But
It could be. I mean, I could see that, like, depending on their skill level coming in or their ability to understand, but that again, that's a big safety factor too. It's like if you know what's going on, you can be more aware
mhm.
of what could potentially happen and where you can jump in and learn more or like, when to kind of like stay out of the, danger
Stay out
zones.
of danger,
Yeah.
and they're only there half the time. So when you
So,
say a year
okay.
experience, you've only got 6 months experience.
That's true.
Um, and if your hitch works a certain way, because I know, especially for like rig moves and stuff like that, there'll be a year goes by and the other side won't move the rig.
So they don't even have
They
anything to
don't
do
even
with
know
it.
how to do it.
And okay, so how often or does it just depend like on a rig move? Like how often do you do that?
Just depends on how many wells, how fast they're drilling, and everything
Okay.
like that.
But that can be that could happen few and far between. So like you may or may not have that experience.
Mhm.
And that's something that seems like you would want to have experience doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wanna know how your rig goes together and it
Like
comes apart.
rig it up and tear it down and
Yeah,
move
that's
it.
just like when I started with premium. I would go, and I live in Louisiana. We have a lot of work around the Shreveport area. So I got with those guys. I said, "Hey, if y'all go and do rig ups or something, call me and I'll come help you." And that was I could work more and make more money, but it was also I could go see these different rigs, how we're rigging up our equipment there, and see different ways of doing it, um, which is only going to benefit me and learn
Mhm.
this new job that I'm in and this new equipment that I'm in.
Yeah.
I know I'd been here about 2 or 3 months, and we had a coordinator. We were talking, and he said, "How long you been doing this? 2 or 3 years?" And I laughed and I said, "Man, I've been 2 months. I've been doing this." He said, "Oh, ain't no way, man." I said, "Dude, you better believe it, because I just started with y'all not too long ago." But I went out to a couple jobs, and there was some problems, and just used my rig experience and stuff like that, and everything went really well.
Yeah.
And we continue to do that.
That's awesome. So, like, would you say that, someone trying to get into the industry, like, would you recommend being a roughneck? Is that a great place
I
to
think
start?
that's where you should start.
And even like with all the other different types of jobs and pipeline and different trades, like roughneck seems like it would be the most ground level, basic understanding of the industry.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of guys like it because of that schedule. You know when you're gonna work, you know when you're gonna be off.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, shoot, with pipeline, like you don't know what direction you're going in or
Mhm.
how long you're going to be there. And it's really more about signing up for that project. It's not, you don't have any longevity.
Yeah,
Whereas uh, with drilling, it's like you said, it's at 14 and 14, and then the possibility of staying with the company. A lot of pipeline jobs, you don't stay with the company. It
exactly.
might just be that one job.
Yeah, one of my best friends is a superintendent, um, and works in a lot of plants and stuff like that. So, he's bouncing around. He doesn't know when he's gonna work. He doesn't know when he's gonna be off. Um, and even with what I'm doing now with Premium, I still have a schedule. It's like a soft schedule, but if I do need to be off for something, I'm able to do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, because there's such a mental tax working in the oil field. And I
Yes.
mean, and I can see with drilling, like it's hard work and long hours, but you could count on your schedule. And
Yes.
that seems like that would be comforting.
So what I used to tell all the new guys, I'd say, man, give me 3 hitches. I said, if you still hate this job and you dread it after 3 hitches, start looking for something else, because it's probably not going to get better. But if you come out here and you hate it and your body hurts, but you go home, you get those paychecks, and you get your 2 weeks off, and oh, it's time I got to go back. Oh, okay, I guess I'll go back, and it's getting that routine of things, and
Hmm.
they get to look forward to that time with their family, and
Yeah.
that's huge for me.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean,
No, I mean, and it makes sense because even like the first day you get back, like you're already counting it down. Like you already know what day you're going to be going
mhm,
home. And I mean, because when you work in a facility or you work pipeline or you do anything else, it's like you're just waiting until for a holiday or the project to end or a rain out or a long weekend.
mhm,
And that can be, I mean, obviously very inconsistent.
yeah, and then like working on the rigs and everything like that, ahead of time if you're gonna be there for the holiday, and you're gonna be there if you're gonna miss it. I know with my son, it doesn't matter, if I'm there or not. Santa Claus comes when Dad's home,
Yeah.
so you're able to get with your family and coordinate and celebrate those holidays still, whether it's on the day or not.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And you can make those
You can
adjustments.
adjust and plan, and
And you just that's part of it,
it
but
is.
being able to plan, that's huge.
It's a huge thing.
And it just it doesn't change. Now, what about okay, when you guys start stacking rigs and it slows down, how do you determine how many people you keep or does it just depend on, kind of what's happening
It
or how
depends
do
on
you
what's kinda happening. You try to hold on to your people, but, it's expected to in the oil field. It does go up and down. I've been very blessed, in my career to I've never been laid off from a company. I've been bumped back, but I've always kept a check coming in.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's, it's hard when it's so because it's up and down for everyone, but when it's really feast or famine, like, you don't
yes,
know if you're gonna be able to keep a job or, when another one's gonna come up, it's hard to maintain.
it is. It really is.
So would you say that, I mean, I know it's up and down, but, like, with drilling, like, you can get a lot of experience and be able to, kinda get your foundation laid in this industry. Like, it seems like it'd be a great place
It's
to.
a great place to start. It's where I started, and it's what helped me to excel with premium as well. And especially with a lot of the guys we hire are drillers and rig managers to do that, and they're excelling. Um,
Yeah.
both of my bosses were drillers and rig managers, so they excelled that route too.
So is that also like does that help make it easier to be more innovative and implement technology and find more efficient ways to do it? Because it seems like it's like the process doesn't change as far as like how, like the like setup and casing and
Yeah, the process doesn't change. You're kind of told by your operator who hires us, this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. You kind of follow that guideline. And as your well talks to you, as far as the MPD side, you've got a guideline of the pressure to hold and everything. But if the well starts talking to you, you adjust. Um, in the perfect world, your equipment would never break. My experience as a rig manager, kind of in the job description of a rig manager, it should have to say MacGyver in there. So when I'm having to troubleshoot now my equipment, I can figure it out. I can fix it. I can figure out ways to get going to get us off downtime. Because I understand um, that company man and that rig manager that I'm out there working with now. I understand the headache he has going on, the demand he's got. So I try to help him any way I can. And even if it's not my equipment, I try to help him do other stuff too.
yeah,
Um, when we're out there on location and not doing anything,
yeah,
got to make around, even if it's cook them something to eat.
yeah. Yeah, the lifestyle, the camaraderie when you get in that environment, I'm sure it kind of because I've talked to different guys that have been in the service and there's a lot of similarities. And then
Mhm.
you're in these isolated environments, but you're together. So
Yes,
you're wanting it to be better for you and you also want it to be better for them.
we're with the guys on the rig more than our own families
Yeah,
because you work your schedule. Well, your own days, you're gonna work them. They're gonna get that out of you. The travel to and from work, that's on your off days.
yeah.
So that's another day you miss with your family or 2 days.
So there's more sacrifice on that end.
There is more sacrifice, but
Now, a lot of the guys I've known that have worked in the drilling sector from East Texas. Is that kind of part of the culture? Is there, just like more work in that region that like East Texas,
they
Louisiana,
work they
offshore,
work out there
or
and they live there.
they're from there?
So it used to be when offshore was really busy, all your offshore guys were lived in for the most part, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. That's where they were at, and East Texas. So when offshore slowed down, everybody came out here.
Okay,
So that I think that's where you get that East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi guys because a lot of them are coming from offshore out here, and a lot of the offices for these drilling contractors are back that way.
okay, yeah. It seems like there's like a little bit of a home base in that region.
It is.
And so, how are things now? Has offshore continued to slow down, or is it?
It's starting to pick up.
Yeah,
We've actually got some offshore stuff in the works as well with
that's exciting.
premium MPD. Yes,
So you guys are growing and expanding and
yes, I'm very excited to be a part of it too. I try to get my hands in all of it.
well, and you guys just recently had your grand opening here in Midland.
Yeah, so we just had our new building open up with the grand opening there, and we had M&M Party Rentals. I think they're
Mhm.
they're out here out of Midland. They put a bunch of stuff out there. They came out. We did crawfish and everything, and it was a really good event. I wasn't able to make it. It was during Valentine's Day, and if I was home, that wasn't gonna go over. very good at
Yeah,
home. If I said, "Hey,
you're
I
very
got it,"
good. You're very good making those
yes.
sacrifices.
I told him, I said, "I'm not going to be able to make it. It's I'm not gonna know how I'm gonna pass this over to my girlfriend.
Yeah,
This ain't gonna fly.
yeah.
I've got to stay home." But it went really well. I seen on LinkedIn and everybody I talked to.
That's good.
It's a really awesome facility and everything like that. I'm excited to see what we're doing there.
Yeah, well, I think there's gonna be a lot of growth for you guys. I love hearing about, the managed pressure drilling also because you said that, in the future, you're not really gonna be able to, uh
The more we keep drilling these wells and fracking, the more buildup we're gonna have of pressure. So you're
so
not
that's gonna mitigate a lot of these problems that we're having.
the managed pressure drilling
Mhm,
will. Yeah, so that can get rid of that problem of everything being charged up around you. Because you know when the more we frack and everything like that, the worse those problems are gonna get.
mhm.
I say problem, it's just part of it.
Yeah, but to be, to kinda to move forward with a little bit better footing, managed pressure drilling is going to mitigate a lot of these issues that are continuing
Yes,
to grow.
100%. So I can remember working around Ruston, Shreveport area, um, 5 or 6 years ago. I spent a little time out there, and us drilling, you know, 100, 200 foot every 12 hours, because you had to keep your mud heavy and everything like that. Well, they're running MPD out there now, and they're drilling 100, 200 foot an hour. So the
Wow.
performance has increased greatly. You're able to keep that mud weight lighter and just simulate it by holding the pressure and keeping that hole opened up.
Okay. Yeah, that's making more sense to me now. I just trying to get like a more rounded understanding of how it
So
works.
you think of a basketball, basically. That's how I used to explain it to guys.
Okay.
So you fill up a basketball with air, and if it's the right pressure and it's balanced, it's going to stay full and you can't come in on it.
Right.
If it's deflated, you can close in on it, right? Okay, that would be your mud weight being too light because the outside, your formation can come in on it.
Okay.
If you fill it up too much, it's going to pop.
Mhm.
And then everything's going to start going into your well. You're going to lose returns and you're just going to damage your formation.
So one way or another, that's a problem.
One way, both ways
Both ways is a
is a
problem.
problem. So you got to balance it. Now, basically, the problem we're getting now with everything being charged up is you say you go from having a basketball to a balloon.
Oh,
So it's thinner. There's
there's
less
room to for
less
error.
room, less play with your mud weights and
Mhm.
your formation pressure and your pore pressure.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean like you would think like that makes more sense to be able to manage it.
Yes. So if you've got the less way to do it, you can just simulate the pressure that you've got down hole. And then when you turn your pumps on and you've got more pressure, you just open that choke up.
Okay. Yeah, and you just able to control it so much better.
Yes, you can control it 100%.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then the guys coming off of rigs, you understand other drilling problems that you have.
Mhm.
So when something's going on and they're trying to blame our equipment, we can troubleshoot other stuff and
Oh,
say, no, that's not what it is. Look what's going on right there. It's
okay.
our stuff's working fine. And it saves a lot of headache and work as far as going to tear open equipment
Yeah,
to see that nothing's wrong.
right. Oh my gosh, I can just imagine that'd be a nightmare. And like again, like cutting down on all that downtime and like troubleshooting for no reason when you can get to the solution so much faster.
Hmm.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you explaining all of this and
Yeah, I
giving
hope I
some.
broke it down
No, you
enough for
really
you.
did. I mean, it's a lot, and it's like I said, when people like that don't know, of
Mhm.
anything about drilling. It's like just you kind of have some of these images or you see videos, but trying to understand the process and not just the process, but this process moving forward and what you guys have developed. You have your own technology. You know, Neil, I mean, he's done so much for the company now, like you said, as the vice president. And that, I mean, and he had mentioned before that he goes to conferences that aren't just for oil
Yeah.
and
Yeah, Neil
gas.
goes to a lot of AI and robotics
Yeah.
conferences, and he's the only oil and gas guy there.
Hmm.
Like, "Why are you here?" But, like, a lot of this stuff you do, we can use too.
Yeah. And I mean, to think outside the box, but also, being able to bring that into the industry to where we're more efficient, we're safer, and we're finding better ways to do what we're going to do anyway. But then you're mitigating unnecessary problems. And like I know he said before, being a steward of the environment and lessening that carbon footprint. And so when you
100%.
have, you know, uh, people like that in leadership positions and like you like with your military experience and like your understanding of the industry, then we're able to move forward more effectively and not just continuing to do business as usual and continue to have these problems because then they're just going to continue mounting.
100%. It's just gonna build up and get worse. So when you can think outside the box and develop new ways and different ways to do things, um, which I think we're doing here at Premium, especially having complete control of everything
Hmm.
that we're doing.
Yeah,
And there's
absolutely.
there's some great guys involved in everything
Very
that
cool.
I can always know if I don't know something, I know somebody that does. I can just call them and we get it figured out.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, thank you, Tyler. Thanks for coming on today, and thank you again for sharing everything that you guys are doing at Premium.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Got